Right, I think we're going to get started now. Hello, everyone. Great to have you here, especially so close to Christmas. This is our final webinar for the year. Yeah, really looking forward to chatting to you about New Year campaigns today. And for anyone that hasn't joined our webinars before, we do have Nicola from Gather Here answering questions in real time. So if you have any questions during the presentation, just pop them into the Q&A box so that she can go through those as I'm speaking. But if she doesn't get to any questions during the presentation, we'll come back to you at the end of after this and respond to those specific questions. So hello, everyone. Great to see you all. So first up, I just thought we'd just quickly go through the agenda. So we're going to be talking about a brief introduction to me and Gathered Here, which I know you guys have heard many times before. So we'll do that bit really quickly. And then we're going to jump straight into why early in the new year is one of the best times of the year to offer an online will to your supporters. We're going to talk about some key recommendations for creating a really effective campaign, and then some extra initiatives that you could consider doing if you really want to go that extra mile. And then finally, we'll end up just going through a couple of case studies from organisations and what they did earlier this year in January for their New Year's campaigns. All right, so about me. So I know, as I said before, a lot of you will probably may already know me from doing these presentations in the past, but in case you don't, so my name's Lucy and I'm a partner success strategist from Gather Here. So my whole role, I've been at Gather Here for 3.5 years, is really about trying to help and support partners just to get the most they possibly can out of working, with Gathered Here and offering online wills to their supporters. So like a lot of people on our team, I have a deep background in the NFP sector. And you can see some of the organisations I've worked at on the screen there. So I've experienced firsthand high highs that come along with working in not-for-profit, but also the challenges that come with working in this space as well. And especially at the moment, I know a lot of my partners are telling me how difficult things are, especially at the moment. So it's mine and the rest of the partner success team's job to make your life easier, and just to be that additional resource or support or advice that you can come to whenever you need it. So very quickly, Gather Here. So I'm hard to believe, but we've had just over now 70,000 wills that have been written via our online will platform, which is incredible. So 70,000 more people who now have a will who probably wouldn't have had one otherwise. And that's only just been over the last few years. So overall, we have a really high customer satisfaction rating, 4.9 out of 5, which is awesome. And we're also trusted by over 750 partners from NFP, AFL clubs, education, schools, universities, membership organisations, a whole gamut of different sectors. And since launching our online will platform in 2020, we've raised an estimated $900 million in future income from really generous everyday Australians deciding to leave a gift in their will, which is pretty remarkable. And it really does show that everyday Aussies are really embracing online wills, and it's only been in a relatively short amount of time as well. Right. So now this is what you're actually here to hear about. So we're going to be talking now about why is the New Year period such a good time to run a gifts and will campaign. So there are 4 reasons really that some are internal to the organisation and some are external to the organisation. So let's look at the external factors first. So early in the year, is just known to be a really popular time for people to review their personal finances, to get their life admin in order. And it also is a time when people are sort of reflecting on the previous year and what things may have changed in their lives over that last sort of 12 months. And then internally, many NFPs are operating at a reduced capacity in Jan, and even in early Feb. But I guess on the flip side to that, that means that there's a low likelihood of any competing activities happening around that time. So, I mean, yeah, probably doesn't surprise you to hear that, that it is a really popular time for people to be reviewing their personal finances in early in the new year. And I guess, this topic really does become part of the conversation in January, as you can see in those media stories that are in the slide deck. You can see these were published in January this year. So there really is a lot of momentum around setting financial goals and savings challenges. So, for example, like no spend January, and so the media outlets are really helping our cause by encouraging people to tick things off their important life admin to do lists. So, and one of these really important life admin tasks is writing a will. And so many, as you would probably know, so many people don't have a will when they should. Between 50 and 70% of Australians. It's a huge number. So this is why it is such a good time to offer a free online will to your supporters early in the new year when they're already in that mindset, and particularly a free one. It's such a valuable thing to be able to offer. And as we saw in the previous slide, the importance of getting finances in order is also really supported by the wider media. So, they're helping by sort of doing some of that heavy lifting around getting people into that mindset if they weren't there already. So when we talk about generating gifts and wills, getting people to actually go to the platform, create an account, and complete a will, that's the hard part. And that's what we need to be focusing on with this New Year campaign. Because once someone actually decides to leave a charity, once someone actually decides to write a will, the chances are they're going to leave a gift as well to a charity, especially if they're one of your supporters. So, seeing as January is such a popular time just organically for people to be writing their wills, um, again, it just gives another reason for you to consider doing some kind of activity around that time as well. So, New Year is a very popular time for people to take pause and reflect on the previous year's life changes. So, as we all know, life gets really busy. The weeks and the months fly by during the year. But when it gets to January, many of us have that time and space to be able to reflect back on the year that's been, what's changed, and also think about the future. So whether it could be buying or selling a house, getting married or engaged, having a child, getting a new pet, starting or ending a relationship, there's many different life events that should trigger someone to write a will and or update an existing will. So reaching out to your supporters at this time of the year is a really great way and a free way for them to get some really a genuinely helpful tool that they can use. And with Gathered Here, they can come back in the future as many times as they like and update their will completely for free as well, which is a great thing. So let's look at the internal reasons now. So another good reason, I guess, to consider doing something in January is that many organisations are operating at a reduced capacity during that time. So, not unsurprisingly, the ABS says that over 50% of employees take some kind of leave over that period. So this can have a huge impact on your team and what you realistically can get done. And I know it might sound counterproductive to plan a campaign when you're stretched for time and resources, but Actually, it's perfect because online wills are such a fantastic tool to use when you need to be a bit more hands off, because they absolutely do the heavy lifting in terms of the ask for you. It's just about getting a little bit organised now so that everything's ready to go in January. So we've found that the low touch initiatives like sending EDMs, they are the most effective way to generate gifts and wills, without a doubt. If you don't have time to generate or to arrange EDMs, you can also be completely hands off, um, and that would include investing in advertising with Gathered Here using credits, and that's pretty much set and forget. And so that's when you're looking at a whole new audience to try and generate gifts and wills. But if you're looking at doing campaigns only, they very much can be planned in advance. You can get all of this finalised in the next, you can get it finalised in the next couple of days, and head into your holidays knowing that you're going to have a really strong start to 2025 and everything's ready, planned and ready to go. So I guess the last reason why it's a good time to run a campaign in January is that there is a low likelihood of, I know some organisations have activities in January, but for the most part, it's pretty quiet in the comms calendar. So, we typically see, the three major initiatives across most organisations. So you've got obviously your tax or end of financial year appeal in quarter 2. Then you've got include a charity week in quarter 3, and then the end of year or Christmas appeal in quarter 4. So, there really does, looking at that, quarter 1 really could be potentially open to do some kind of New Year activity. So, and I guess being in January, it means it's less likelihood of clashing with other non-gift and will activities, such as giving days or special events, which obviously are super important for all organisations, but understandably they need to have their own dedicated space. So I guess hopefully, for all the reasons I've just spoken about, that will make it an easy ask or conversation to have, to get the buy-in from your organisation to do some kind of activity early in the new year. All right, so just coming back to this slide again. So why is January such a good time? And I know many of you have either already locked in campaigns or are finalising them this week. So I just wanted to go over some recommendations so that you can make sure that your campaigns really are set up for the best chances of success. So, and for those of you who haven't locked in anything or haven't planned anything yet, don't worry, it's not too late. And hopefully by the end of this presentation, you'll be able to do some really quick and easy things so that you don't miss this opportunity. All right, so firstly, if there's only one thing that you can do, it's to send a series of emails, ideally 3, but to as broader audience of your supporters as possible. So there's QR codes there, so you can download those kits for New Zealand and Australia, but we'll also be forwarding this information to you after the session, so don't worry if you missed that. But there's lots of different segments that you could consider contacting with your EDMs. And some organisations that get really granular with segmenting, and they might do a slightly different message to each audience, which is great. And if you've got time to do that, definitely do it. But a one-size-fits-all approach, email works perfectly well as well. And, at the end of the day, the more people you contact, the better. So that's probably the focus would be trying to get to a really broad audience. And if they get the same email, it's absolutely fine. And so the kit that I just mentioned before, that includes templates for general supporters, for elapsed donors, staff, volunteers, corporate partners, and you can just copy and paste the text, recommended text from those, the kit, put it into your email platform, add an image, and hit send. So, the reason that we say that you should contact as many people as possible is that, as I said before, the biggest hurdle to receiving gifts and wills is actually getting people to jump online, create an account, and write a will in the first place. But research shows that supporters are actually very keen to include um, gifts in their wills to causes they care about once they're there. But we just need to educate and motivate them to create an account and then complete their will in the first place. That's the hard part. So that's what's so important in the messaging, that we really convey the importance of everybody having a will and why they need to have a will. And I'll talk a bit more about that in a second. So, the more people that you contact, the greater, it's a numbers game, right? The more people you contact, the greater chance you have of getting wills, or getting people to complete their wills, and then hopefully from there, them leaving some gifts as well. Okay, so let's look at the content of these emails. So, as I said, there's a few really important key messages that you really need to consider including. And again, these messages are in the recommended content that are in the kits. So, this is super important. The primary message of these series of emails should really be focused on the importance of having a will. So, as I said before, the biggest hurdle for people to overcome is to get them to act and just to go, oh, okay, even though I don't have children or I don't have a house, I do have a pet, and there's everyone should have a will. It doesn't matter how old they are, or what they own or what they don't own, or how simple they think that their wishes would be. They need to have a will. So it's really important to communicate the benefits of everyone having a will, because if they're not going to write a will, there's not going to be any gifts. And I guess then the secondary message is about educating supporters on the power of bequests and normalizing legacy giving for the average person. And it's also really good to reassure your supporters that that the will is free of conditions. It's not, there's no hidden, um, writing anywhere or anything that they don't like. There's no strings attached. It's just a completely free will. And also looking at, letting them know that they don't have to leave your organization a gift. Most of the time they will, but they need to know that they don't have to. All right. So the importance of writing a will. So the key messaging here is really about how writing a will is an act of kindness to your loved ones. Because without one, the stress that it can cause in the future, that it will cause in the future, is huge. So it's really, we say, it's just good manners to have a will for your loved ones. And again, as I said before, regardless of how much money they have or how old they are, whether they've, got a straightforward, wishes or whatever they think, or whatever barrier they're telling themselves that they don't need a will, not true. Everyone should have a will who's over the age of 18. And so it's just about getting that message over there for us in your emails. And finally, I guess, writing a will also gives people the power to make decisions, and the peace of mind that what they will actually, the values that they've held throughout their lifetime will actually be carried out, when they pass away. So that could be funeral wishes. It could be, a sentimental piece of jewelry, who that goes to, or what happens to pets after they die, or, who's going to be the kids' guardians. So many things that are covered in a will that are so, so important. So next, it's good to also educate supporters on the power of bequests. So we know that bequests make up about a quarter of a charity's revenue on average. So it's a really powerful way to give, especially because people are never going to feel the financial impact of it during their lifetime. So it's just such a wonderful way for people to support, the causes they care about. And, of course, as you all know, bequests, they really do help organisations be able to plan for the future to some extent. And they also allow the supporters to really think about what their legacy is going to be. So all of these key messages really drive home the importance and the power of giving in this way. And then it's also really important to normalise legacy giving for the average person. Previously bequests were probably largely seen as something that the very wealthy did. And that perception still lingers, I think, for some people. But, so a lot of people don't even see themselves as a bequester because they probably haven't been asked and they haven't been provided a tool like a free online will. It makes it so easy for them to leave a gift. So changing that perception that everyone has the capacity to leave a gift in their will has a huge impact. And studies have shown that if you normalise giving behaviour, so if you communicate that it's a really common way for people to support an organisation, more people are going to do it. As humans, we want to fit in and we naturally look for cues around us to figure out what's socially acceptable and what's right. So you can do that by talking about how common bequesting is and highlighting individual stories of bequesters, which I know many of you are already doing, which is fantastic. Such an effective way to spread this message and normalise this type of giving. And finally, you just want to reassure your supporters that their will does not come with conditions. As I said before, a Gathered Here will is 100% free, unlimited updates for life, no small print that people need to be worried about. There's absolutely no obligation to include a gift, and you really should make sure that your email communicates that because it really backs up the statement around the importance of having a will. And it can then help you frame this offer as a benefit to supporters rather than just another ask. That I'm sure they're receiving many, many asks throughout the year from organisations. And finally, just reminding supporters that if they pledge a gift through your landing page, your Gathered Here landing page, it doesn't cost your organisation a cent. And Gathered Here does not take any cut of the gift whatsoever. That's one thing that we do see crop up from time to time with concerns from consumers that they think the online will platform is taking a percentage of the gift. Which is absolutely not true. So it's really worth drilling home to your supporters that that's just not the case. So now talking about the landing page, I would highly recommend you going back into the dashboard and having a look at the messaging on your landing page. It's really important that the messaging that's in your EDMs, which hopefully will be leading with the importance of why everyone should have a will, that should also be the messaging that's on your landing page as well, because you don't want to be sort of leading with the importance of having a will and this being a supporter benefit in the email, and then they're going to click through to the landing page and it's just hits them in the face that you want a gift, basically. So it's really important just to make sure that the tone and the messaging of your landing page is the same as what's in your EDM. So in that first section, this is about we're giving you a gift for New Year's, or just really focusing on why having a will is so important. And then in that next section, it's all customizable. That's when you can have a very gentle ask, something along the lines of, if it feels right for you, there is an option to leave us a gift, and this is where the money will be going. All right, so I'm just going to have a little sip of water, dry mouth. Mm-hmm. All right, so this is for our premium partners, but really important to make sure you're using those unique tracking links that you can create in the dashboard and the GMP for each email that's going out and any other activities that you're doing over that period as well, because the tracking link will direct through to your landing page. And so you can create as many of those links as you like. So if you're sending different emails to different supporters, you could even have a separate link for each segment. The tracking link will help your partner success manager, whoever that is, and yourselves be able to measure and track the performance of each activity that you're doing. We've had partners track whether a QR code or a URL works better. whether a link at the bottom or the top of an email works better. You can even test the color of the button, all sorts of things. And I strongly encourage you to use this to your advantage, because the more data we have, the better, because that will be able to help inform, what activities you do in the future and what you choose to focus on. And it will even tell you, what's driving the gifts and what might, inadvertently be putting supporters off. All right, so this is another recommendation for premium partners. So January is a great time to use the online will platform to reach high intent will writers. So people who are completely new and unknown to your organisation. So we do see an increase in will writing during January, as I mentioned, from the general public. So it really is a fantastic time to consider purchasing credits, securing some advertising space, because we know that there's going to be so many more eyes on those organisations that are listed, and then hopefully that will mean more gifts for those partners as well. So for anyone that's not familiar with how this works, it's just basically locking in advertising space for organisations, our premium partners who in sort of high visibility parts of the online will platform, with the hope that they'll be selected to be left a gift to. And sort of by doing this, thousands of will writers can see the logo of the organisation, information about the cause, at that very moment where they're deciding how they want to distribute their estate. All right, so we've talked about sending an EDM, a series of EDMs. If that's the one thing you can do that. If you have the resources and the time, these are some nice to haves that you could definitely consider if you really want to throw everything at this campaign. But just do keep in mind that really the 3 emails is where it's at. And you're probably not going to see the volume of gifts come through these other extra initiatives than you will with those emails. But still definitely worth considering doing these if you can. So these would fall into like the awareness category. So where we're slowly educating and exposing supporters to online wills and bequests, the idea of it. Whereas the emails are more like of a direct conversion side of things. So I highly recommend, and I always, we say this to all of our partners when they join Gather Here, emailing your staff, offering them a free online will is such a great thing. So even if you've already done this, this year, it's absolutely fine to do it again. I would recommend doing it once a year, or even putting it as part of your, the onboarding for the new staff members. It's all about timing with writing wills. So maybe someone didn't, like last year when they got the email, they didn't feel the need to do it, or they didn't have time, or maybe this time around they'll go, actually, yeah, I probably should do that. So and I guess with staff and volunteers, it's the primary objective of emailing staff is to offer them a valuable staff benefit, and to really engage and inspire them to become advocates for the Gift in Will program. And if they decide to leave a gift, amazing, it's an added bonus, but it's not the primary objective. So with corporate partners, it's kind of a similar concept. So if you have a particularly engaged corporate partner who has lots of employees, talking to them about emailing around your landing page to all of their staff, offering them a free online will as a staff benefit, and hopefully, giving them the opportunity to leave your organisation a gift as well. It's such a great thing to do because it really broadens the audience it's a whole new audience that you may not have exposure to before, and it doesn't cost anything. It's free. So there's templates for both those audience, for staff and for corporate volunteers in the kit as well. Next, you could consider including a story in your newsletter, posting on socials, adding a banner to staff email signatures, creating postcards and bookmarks, which you could include in already planned mail outs and event bags. You might even want to consider media ads if you've got any CSA opportunities, or paid, I guess, if you have the budget. So, billboards, print media, radio, even TV. All right. So let's look at some case studies. So this first one is a religious organisation that does fabulous, amazing work in Australia and abroad. So this organisation in January this year, they sent 3 emails to 13,000 of their supporters. And the emails were 2 weeks apart. So two in January and then one in February. So they also posted, did some posts about their online will campaign on Facebook and Instagram, and they also used Gathered Here to advertise by investing in credits to reach new supporters. So all in all, they received 24 primary gifts with worth an estimated 450,000 in future income, and they also received 3 backup gifts. So for anyone who's not sure about the difference between primary and backup, primary gifts are pledged to charities without any conditions, whereas backup gifts, on the other hand, are pledged on the basis that the will writer's first choice of beneficiary has either died by the time this will comes into force, or perhaps they can't be found by the executor, or maybe they decline receiving the gift. So we're always really transparent about this split. And when you're looking at your own revenue and data in the GMP, it will automatically default to primary gifts only. But we do think that backup gifts are actually a really important metric to consider, because what we see a lot of is, where both spouses identify each other as the primary beneficiary and then the charity is their backup. So in time, their assets will make their way to the organisation regardless. So anyway, let's have a look at these emails. So a total of 16 primary and 3 backup gifts were received from sending these emails to the organisation's existing supporters. And then they also spent around $1,200 on credits and were able to bring in 8 brand new supporters, with gifts estimated to be worth around 130,000 in the future. They also did some posts, as I mentioned before, which didn't, so on Facebook and Instagram, they didn't lead to any gifts, but again, still a valuable thing to do, just to have that to complement your emails, and just to raise general awareness. All right, the next case study is, this time it's a Queensland-based animal charity. So they also sent a series of 3 emails to 79,000 of their supporters, as well as an email to staff and volunteers. They did some posts on Facebook, and again, they also did some platform advertising via credits with us. So all in all, they received 33 gifts, 33 primary gifts, estimated to be worth 1.3 million in the future, and 2 backup gifts worth an estimated 1.8 million. So advertising wise, they spent less than $900 on credits, were pledged an estimated 220,000 as a result of that investment, and they were able to bring on 6 brand new donors as a result as well. And then, so for the final case study, just wanted to have a look at a slightly different scenario. So for this organisation, like many NFPs, they were really pushed for time, and also space in the comms calendar. And they found the most that they were able to do for their New Year campaign was 1 email to supporters and an inclusion in their regular newsletter. So I guess I just wanted to include this because I don't want people to see our recommendations of 3 emails and say, oh, that's too much, we can't get that over the line. That's not what we normally do. It's too late, blah, blah, blah. Totally fine, totally understandable. But if you can't do 3, do 2. If you can't do 2, do 1. 1 is better than none. And as you can see here, this organisation was able to generate an estimated future revenue of 405,000 from just 1 email to their supporters. They did include a reminder in their following newsletter, which is a really smart thing to do. And again, that all plays into just building awareness, but you can really see how much of a difference even just 1 email can make. And this organisation weren't in a position to be able to purchase credits or invest in advertising. So this revenue that you're seeing here has come purely from their existing supporters from that 1 email. I mean, you could also have people sitting on your supporter databases right now who are eager to include. Well, you will have people sitting in your databases right now who, if asked to write a will and given a a free online will would love to leave you a gift, but they just haven't had the, ability to do it in the past potentially because they may not have wanted to go and pay for a solicitor or whatever. So I guess to finish, if I haven't expressed this enough by now, I really encourage all of you to do something for New Year in the new year. You could do something between mid-January to mid-February. Even if it was one email, even if it was a social media post, but do something because it's such a great time of year. People are really looking at these things. So, make sure that you're there and you've got this amazing platform, this free online world to be able to offer them, so that you can leverage in on this new year period. Okay, so that's all for today. So you can grab those codes again for the kids. Believe Nicola's also dropped the links in the chat. But we'll be sending an email around shortly anyway with a recording and with all of the links that you need. And as I said at the start, if there's any questions that haven't been answered, we'll follow up shortly directly, or feel free just to send an email to the success@gatheredhere.com email address. Thank you so much for coming. Have a great Christmas if I don't speak to anyone beforehand. Have a lovely break. And if you want to reach out to your either myself or Serena, please do. We're here until the end of next week as well, so we can have a chat to you about anything that you've got planned. Okay, bye.